Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Welcome to May, and welcome to Shadoe at Night. May 1st, it's Wednesday, May 1st, 2024. On the show tonight, that bigot, racist school trustee from the Mountain View School Division in Manitoba. Oh, I'm so mad. I think he's a member of Diagolon. Ugh. Paul and I had a brief chat before the show started, backstage, and he's a good fellow. And we're going to talk about what really happened. I'm going to read you one of the left-wing corporate media stories about him from a few days ago, last week almost to the day, before I bring him on, just to give you some context between what they're saying, how they paint him, how they make him out to be, and how he actually is as a guy. It's remarkably opposite, polar opposite. But of course, you know the left-wing corporate media will take every opportunity to smear anybody that they think might be going against the narrative. You know, climate catastrophe, COVID-19, the vaccines, trans, all that stuff. All of it. Palestine, you name it. Anybody who speaks against their narrative is a villain. Card-carrying member of Diagolon. So Paul is going to join the show in just a second. All right, let's go say some hellos. Michael is watching in Brampton on Facebook. Hello, Chuck, watching on Facebook in Kamloops. Carla is in Calgary watching on Facebook. Anybody not watching on Facebook tonight? Who's watching on X? Let's see if I can find somebody watching on X. Anybody? Anybody? So far, Ben's on Facebook in Saskatchewan. Hello, Julianne in Swan River on Facebook. Elsie is watching on Facebook tonight. There's Wayne. Wayne and Patty watching from Norwich, Ontario on X. Dave is watching tonight from North Kildonan in Winnipeg. Kevin Murray is watching from Davidson, Saskatchewan, and Kevin is watching in Calgary, but sometimes in St. John, New Brunswick. Hello, Chris, watching in northern New York State. Lynn is watching from Wyndham Center, Ontario. Joni, hello, in MAGA country. Dodie Ann is watching tonight from somewhere, I don't know. She just gave us a big smiling, laughing face. Hello, Mimi in Austinfeld. Kathy is watching in New Brunswick. Kev from Canada Nano Silver is watching tonight from just north of Winnipeg. David is watching tonight from I don't know where. You guys are not writing down where you're watching from. That's the whole point of this. That's why I do these things, so I can show you that the entire country is watching us. The entire country gathers together to have a chat and pick some things up they might not have known before here on the Shadoe at Night live stream. Lynn is watching in Northeast Ontario, as she says. All right, you guys, if you're watching on Facebook tonight, it's a big like and a share. Let's get this out to as many people as we possibly can. The same thing goes for X. Get it out there. Repost and heart it. Make sure that people see what we're talking about tonight. Make sure that people get a chance to see Paul speak his piece, no matter what the left-wing corporate media had to say. Over on Rumble, it's Lexus watching there in Saskatchewan, I think, Lexus 400. Sass is watching tonight. Rico Suarez is watching tonight. Renee Dudar is in Ethelbert, Manitoba. Hello, Jimmy Balls, watching in the woods. Shelby is watching on Vancouver Island. Notable is in the Okanagan. North Scotty's in Flynitaby, Floniton. I love the Rumble handles. I have the best viewers in the world. I swear to God, I have the best viewers in the world. Creative as well. PDS10 is watching tonight. All you guys saying hello to each other. Make sure you get this out there on Rumble with a share and a thumbs up, please. And thank you very, very much. The Shadoe at Night live stream, as always, is brought to you by Canada Nano Silver, CanadaNanoSilver.ca. Interestingly, I get a lot of questions from people asking me, can I take this? Is it safe to take with antibiotics? I'm on meds. I say, okay, well, have you gone to the website and read the frequently asked questions? Because I'm sure that you'll find that there. But I can do it here for you if you'd like. So here it is. Silver Biotics Immune Support has not shown to interact negatively with any antibiotics or vaccinations. ABL, the parent company of Canada Nano Silver, has tested it with 17 different antibiotics directly. It had no inhibitory issues with any of them. As part of a human ingestion safety study that was done on the Silver Biotics product, a P450 drug interaction study was also completed, and it showed that Silver Biotics did not negatively interact with any common medications. Silver biotics doesn't work chemically, which makes the chance of it interacting with medications very low. This does not mean it couldn't interact with some medication somewhere, but as of yet, ABL has not found one that does. ABL has sold more than 18 million units of Silver Biotics products with no reported side effects or negative interactions. As always, it's important to consult with your physician before taking anything new. Check out CanadaNanoSilver.ca. If you're looking for a retail location, you can find it on the Retail Locations tab. If you want to be a retailer of these awesome, safe, and effective products, get a hold of Kevin and Anna through the contact tab at CanadaNanoSilver.ca, CanadaNanoSilver.ca. All right, so today is the very first day. Remember we had Kev on the show about 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks, with Ken and Rosalie Drysdale, who were putting on the Stronger Together Conference in Manitoba, in Beausejour, on June 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. And they're putting their own money in to make sure that this thing goes off without a hitch. They're bringing in speakers from all over the country. I'm going to be your MC and moderator for the event all 3 days, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And tickets are very, very reasonably priced. All of the information you can find on Manitoba Stronger Together, all one word, manitobastrongertogether.ca. And from every product sold between now and the time of the show, from Canada Nano Silver, $2 will go towards reimbursement of costs for Ken and Natalie Drysdale, who have put thousands of their own dollars into this just to bring people together. And remember, this is not just a like-minded party, a gathering of like-minded people from all across the country to hobnob, rub shoulders, and drink. That will be included in this, obviously. It's going to be fun, but it's also going to be an information seminar, trading ideas. You can find more information online at manitobastrongertogether.ca. So check it out, get your tickets now, and hopefully we will see you there. All right, this is in regards to Paul Coffey, not the hockey player, the school trustee from the Mountain View School Division here in Manitoba. This is one of the left-wing corporate media articles that was written about him after he gave his speech. I think it was last week. We'll clarify that with Paul in just a second, but here it is. A controversial, first thing they say, controversial presentation by a school trustee in Western Manitoba has members of nearby communities in disbelief. They're agog. Their jaws are wonk, 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 hanging in the breeze. They don't know what to make of this. At a public meeting of the Mountain View School Division on Monday, so this is last week now, Trustee Paul Coffey gave a half-hour-long talk on the topic of racism and anti-racism, a speech subsequently criticized as ignorant and offensive by local leaders. In his presentation, Coffey suggested residential schools served a good purpose and that land acknowledgements caused division by blaming whites for taking land and telling Indians that they should be sorry because their land was stolen in the first place. I added in the first place myself. Coffey also asserted that the term white privilege is racist. It is. And that he refuses to use any term to describe Indigenous people other than Indian. That's a question I want to ask. He also said schools should not post signs recognizing inclusivity and that he refuses to use acronyms when discussing members of the LGBTQ plus community. I love this guy already. After public backlash, the school division released a statement distancing itself from Coffey's remarks. Gabe Mercier is the board chair, and he said, well, Mr. Coffey was speaking as an individual, and his opinions and comments were his own, and possibly those of other constituents in his ward. Mr. Coffey was not speaking on behalf of the board. Mountain View School Division stands by our continued work with Indigenous partners and our tireless work around reconciliation. Mercier said the school board stands against all types of racism, so insinuating that Paul is a racist, and will continue to create an environment where all students and staff feel valued. I suppose everybody who's not white or heterosexual, which is the majority in this country. As a parent, Jerry Thompson, now they're talking to just random people here, just to get their thoughts. Jerry Thompson said she's upset and shocked by Coffey's comments. It's definitely a slap in the face, especially as an Indigenous parent who's working very hard to make sure our children understand our culture and see it reflected in our community, because for a very long time it hasn't been. Well, I've always asserted, and again, this is me throwing my 2 cents in here, that if you want your kids to know your culture, it should come from a familial perspective. In other words, it's the parents' responsibility to input the culture of their backgrounds into their children. Just a thought. I would say they're the primary responsibility. Thompson said she was particularly taken aback by the trustee's use of Indian. It was always a mistake, she said, adding Christopher Columbus first called Indigenous peoples this when he thought he had arrived in India, but was actually in the Americas. So this goes on and on and on, just ragging on Paul, and it's a smear job. It's a Marxist corporate media smear job. So let's bring him on. Here is Paul Coffey, a trustee in Manitoba's Mountain View School Division. Paul, thank you for coming on the show tonight. We know that you're on vacation in Florida, which was pre-planned, by the way. You're not running away from anything. This was in the works for a while. You made a point of telling me that, so thank you for coming on tonight. Explain, please, before we even get started on this, why you insist on using the term Indian.
Because Indians were Indian for 450 years, although Christopher Columbus did say that by mistake or whatever. And then I am Indian, so I'm proud to be that, and that's why.
Well, you know what? This is one of those things that's become culturally a hot potato, kind of like the N-word in the United States, predominantly, right? I mean, that's what they call each other. But then if somebody from a different race uses that word, oh my God, it's horrible. Just like the Indian thing. Same thing happens up here. They call each other that. But if we say it, well, no, sorry, you can't do that. Why do you think that is? Is that just something that's been injected into our culture somehow?
Well, I think in this case, it's the Indians were convinced that they weren't worthy of being Indian. So then they were going to be called Native. And then it's kind of an eraser thing. That's what I presented, is that in the last 70 years, their name changed 5 times.
Yeah, well, you're right. It's been Indian, then it went to Aboriginal, then First Nations, and some of the other variants of that. Native, all of that stuff. Yep. So you're absolutely right. And they haven't, it's probably going to keep changing, I suppose. What exactly did you say, Paul, at this presentation that got everybody so upset?
Well, the whole presentation is based on it's nice until it isn't. You know, so I talked about the treaties. Those were nice. Like they stopped the annihilation of I'll say Indigenous, unless I'm referring to myself. They stopped the annihilation of the Indigenous and started making the land claims and how everything was going to work. So that was all a good thing. But then in the end, it was sending people to no man's land and locking them in there. And a lot of the treaties, they aren't allowed to do anything out there. They aren't allowed to do without federal permission. So it wasn't a good thing in the end. And obviously, after 150 years, we're seeing, you know, it was good to start, a good idea, and then it's not nice.
You know, it's very interesting. I've criticized this system for such a long time. You have Indigenous roots, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So have you visited reserves? Have you seen for yourself what goes on in these places?
I did go to day school, and then I've visited.
Are you familiar
not
with
regularly, but it's a disaster out there.
Are you familiar with the expression apple?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this is the kind of thing that happens on the res, as they call it. You get called apple. That means that you want to somehow make something of yourself, right? In society, white man dominated society. So what they call you then on the res is apple, which is red on the outside and white on the inside, kind of like the Uncle Tom thing in Black America. So that in and of itself gets you attacked on the res if you ever decide you want to go back after having made something of yourself or even tried. And so this will feed into the gang life, which we're seeing an explosion of, especially in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and northwestern Ontario. I mean, the system is flawed. It's been flawed for years. But what exactly is at the root of this? Aside from government giving them money, what do you feel, Paul, is the root of the problem here?
I think people being told that they're victims, like all the time. Like if I was told that I was a victim and I wouldn't look up, I would just, I wouldn't, a person wouldn't succeed. Whereas if you look forward, it's good to look back to see how we got here, but to dwell too much on the past or whatever, then yeah. It's not
What
gonna
about
do
the societal structure of the reservation in general, right? Like the chiefs and their councils making so much money, they all get a certain amount of money from the federal government every year. We know that, but we don't know how much. Stephen Harper tried to make that visible thing back when he was prime minister, but they all revolted and said, no, we're not going to show you how much we spend on this, how much we spend on that. I think that was a good thing for accountability so we could all see, but more to make the chiefs and their councils accountable to their people, right? Because we hear stories about these chiefs who are going to Las Vegas every second weekend for a conference or whatever, going to Palm Springs for a get-together with other native chiefs across North America. They live in massive houses, they drive beautiful vehicles, and everybody else on the res lives in abject poverty. And there's nothing we can do about that, right? So that, in my opinion, is something that needs to change, but it needs to come from the people.
Definitely. And that's what my presentation was. It's got to be each and every individual has to start from the bottom, not government down.
Right. So let me ask you this then. After you gave the is this a presentation you've given before, or is this a brand new thing?
No. So what happened is the province allotted $85 million plus 25, so around $100 million. It's a initiative to start a anti-racism policies throughout Manitoba. So and when you come to anti-racism, anywhere you look, you're going to find decolonization and white privilege. Those words in there. Yep. So any of my constituents, all the people I know are not for decolonization and white privilege. And those things cause division and oppression. So as a trustee, it's my duty to present to the board that if this anti-racism policy comes into place and it has those definitions in there, the people aren't going to sign on, and it'll be another failure. Just like the other things I mentioned in there, it's common practice that these procedures or policies get hijacked by these ideologies of the decolonization and white privilege.
You mean diversity, equity, and inclusion and everything that comes with it. Critical race.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anti-racism would be great. And that's where I say it's nice, anti-racism, but then all of a sudden all this other stuff creeps in underneath, and then half the people don't sign up for it because of the bad. So it was nice to start, and then in the end, it just fails, and it's just a round and round.
It's just a way to keep society divided, in my opinion.
Definitely.
That's all it is, right? So when you said all of these things in the context that you give us, and you got this backlash, were you surprised that people seen what you were going to say before you said it? Or was it a surprise?
I'm surprised that they took it this way, because it's as a duty as a trustee. Actually, I should give a disclaimer. I'm here as Paul Coffey, not as Trustee Coffey.
Paul Coffey, the individual.
Yes, the individual.
Not Paul Coffey, the school trustee from Mountain View School Division. Okay, fair enough.
When it comes to democratic process, it's I give a presentation, and it's knowledge, and the trustees learn, and they sit there and listen. Just like I sat and listened to people come and talk to us about men wearing dresses and porn in our libraries and stuff. And I thank the presenter just politely, because that's our duty, to sit and listen, take all of this stuff in. And then when it comes time for a motion on the table, then we have all this information and we can make a decision. That's about it. So it was an information session so that the board members could understand that because of the past history, I see this anti-racism policy failing if they put in decolonization and the white privilege racist
And of course,
term.
they're going to put that in there. Let me ask you, how many trustees are on the Mountain View School Board?
There was 9, but one recently stepped down, and so now we have 8.
And you have 8. How many of those trustees do you think are on the side of common sense?
Majority. Yeah.
So you've got the majority of people who actually think normal. Yeah. Like they don't believe in this trans theory. They don't believe in having this pornographic stuff in the books in schools. Yeah. Have you seen any of that in your district?
No, we have some pretty good procedures that'll prevent that. You know, if you go to Mountain View and you'll see their procedure that prevents that library book thing.
Yeah. What about in schools? Have you seen any of the schools try to bring programs? Because we've got, what is it called, that organization in the United States using a different name up here in Canada, Planned Parenthood. They're coming up here and they're using a different name. I forget what it is, but they're trying to do presentations in different schools across Manitoba. This is what happened in Brandon and Verdun
I heard
last year, and we had a bunch of parents up in arms about it. Have you seen anything like that coming your way?
No complaints or nothing. And that's kind of up to the parents to feed back to the school division or to the board.
What is the general vibe on all of this? You're in the Dauphin area, am I right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what is the general vibe up there regarding all of this stuff? Because that's a remote enough community. It's about a 3.5 hour, 4 hour drive northwest of Winnipeg. It's what, like 10,000 people. It's big enough, but it's also small enough. What's the general vibe up there? What are people thinking? Do you have a lot of wackadoo lefties?
I would say it's hard to say because I would think around 50-50. But is it because some people are very vocal? You know what I mean? That could give you a distorted, the louder you speak, the more it looks like there's a lot of them. And then, of course, you get the legacy media, and then it really looks like, read it. Because a lot of people still believe the legacy media. When you read it or hear it on the radio and stuff, that's
Do you know that 50% of Canadians no longer trust the left-wing corporate media? Like, I was surprised by that, too. I thought, holy crap, man, that's really changed in the past 4 years since COVID. So how have you felt about all of this backlash? Have you gotten a lot of support, or are people attacking you online? Like, what's happening?
Tons of support. I don't have any social media because it's garbage. But,
you never did? You haven't shut down your accounts in the last couple of days since all this? It's just never been there in the first place, right?
Never was there in the first place. I don't read the paper. I don't have TV. I don't watch the news. I didn't even read that stuff. Some people send me something. Somebody sent me something. I read the first 2 sentences and it says, "Oh, my week is so horrible at school this past week." And I'm thinking, yeah, my week was horrible too. Like, whatever. But I don't know.
But are they attacking you? Are they trying to? I mean, if you don't have social media, that pretty much defeats any of their attacks because that's where they do most of their attacking. But any weird ass phone calls, anything like that?
Unless I know who's phoning, then I don't answer. And then I had this happened. I gave my presentation on Monday, so I didn't check my emails till Friday. And then I opened the box and it says, 400 emails, and it's like. But by the time I got through it, my filter had broken or something because I only had like 24 against me, like into my personal trustee email was 24 for me, and then 26 that weren't for me.
You mean like the other side sent more?
By 2.
Oh, I don't like that at all. I'm thinking that common sense is probably the vast majority of people. Right. So whenever I hear a number like that, a ratio like that, it makes me worry just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. But that's on my personal one, and of course some of the negative ones were like just way out there, like
probably
using derogative things and
A lot of
being totally
pejorative
silly.
comments, a lot of name calling, and not
Yeah.
really probably knowing what they were talking about. And that leads me to believe that it was probably the same 3 people sending 8 emails each under different handles.
And that could
Probably.
be. Then the division does have a communications email, and I'm not too aware what exactly has come across that just yet.
Have you, the division, as this left-wing corporate media story says, tried to distance themselves from your remarks, and they said, well, Mr. Coffey was speaking as an independent citizen as opposed to a member of the board, which you have also affirmed here tonight. But have you received any kind of conversation, at least, from those people, or are they leaving you alone?
Oh no, nothing from the school division. Usually that's taken care of by the chair, and then so they haven't said anything to me.
I find this interesting, and I'll tell you why, because we've had other school trustees get themselves in hot water regarding the kinds of comments that you made. And again, I don't feel that anything that you said was egregious, even a little bit.
Yep.
But we've got people like Francine Champagne who are in the Louis Riel School Division. We've had trustees all over the country. We had one in Red Deer who was forced to resign. We've had a few in Ontario who, were forced to resign. We've had school teachers and principals forced to resign based upon just their thoughts that go against this narrative. So do you have a plan in case something like this comes your way? Or are you hoping it just goes away?
I can't resign because it's not up to me. It's up to my constituents. And if I ask them, no way, Yeah. So I'm here for them 100%.
Have you been a school trustee for quite some time, or are you new at it?
Nope, this is my first term. So this is my 3rd year. And just a point on that is that there was a 47% change in trustees in the province of Manitoba. 47% are all new.
Wow, that's interesting.
So our board had 4 out of 9 new trustees. So
and they're mostly common sense people. I mean, what should people, this is an interesting thing that we don't really speak a lot about when it comes to school trustees, because, they just kind of quietly get in. There's, I suppose, small campaigns, but only a small percentage of people vote in these municipal elections, school trustees, city councilors, town councilors, mayor, all of that stuff, Reeve. And so, these Marxists, this is what I call them, by the way. I'm not sure if you use that expression, but I certainly do. These Marxists are able to get in and use the school trustee system and the, to some extent, the municipal system kind of as a farm team for provincial and federal politics. And that's why I asked you about the percentage of school trustees on your board. And I'm happy to hear that they're in favor. Have you seen a lot of these people trying to get in, trying to influence what's going on in the schools? And you?
No, not necessarily. But you're correct on the voting in. Like in my instance, I was in by acclamation.
Right.
And they're using that against me. Oh well, he wasn't voted in as a trustee or whatever. He got in it by acclamation. I still had to get 25 signatures. And nobody else stood up, so I am what the community wants, or am. So
well, that is the political process. I mean, if you're in by acclamation, that means nobody chose to run against you, so you win the election by default. Nobody else ran, right? So, so how long are you to be in Florida?
Till it cools down up there, or is it snowing? No, I'm down for 3 weeks.
The province is investigating a letter that was sent from an anonymous group of diversity parents in the Hanover School Division in Steinbach regarding misconduct, apparently, by the school trustees down in that division. And now the Education Minister of Manitoba, Nello Altimore, says he's going to look into your situation.
Yes. Yeah.
What's he going to look into, Paul?
They're going to do a what's it called now? A governance investigation. So I believe what that is they make sure that everything was done right and that we're running the board properly and that we're following the rules. And as far as I'm concerned, I brought stuff to the board and they listened, and now it's time for delegations to come. And if the delegation, because I'm for I'm not for decolonization, white privilege, division, and oppression. And if a delegation wants to come and say they are for that stuff, then let them come, I guess. I don't know.
Have
I
you
don't
got
know
a
how they're
lot?
going to argue with me.
Have you got a lot of knowledge about this sort of thing? Is this something that you've been looking at for years now?
No,
No, this is
but
just some. Go ahead.
it's my job and that's where trustees, like the school boards, we're macro, like large, and that's where the workers in the school division, they're micro, so they're hands on. We make the policies, the trustees. So that's our job, and it's going to be over encompassing the whole division, but also the province. So it's our job to make sure they're done right and they're going to be successful. So then the micro workers, and I know that sounds bad, but they do a really good job, and they're helping students get through the year and doing all kinds of good things. But then those students leave, and another batch of students come, and they're in the same condition. So that's what they're upset that the things I said is for macro. I want to make sure the policies that come down and then the procedures made to fulfill those policies, when they come down to those people, they're going to have success, so that when they do something for a year, the next batch of kids that come in are going to be healthy, a little bit better. And it's going to take a long time to fix this problem. But if we keep making faulty policies on top, the macro part, the big part, then nothing's going to get fixed down in the bottom.
Paul, how do we start removing this DEI policy from the school boards, from everything, really? I mean, it's so entrenched, it seems, in our society, in our institutions, that it's going to be a hell of a thing trying to get rid of it. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Just the way I did. Whack-a-mole.
Explain.
You just picture, I stick my head out and I say, this is going on. Well, they're going to try and whack me down, but there's tons of us under here, and it's not going to do any good. But we have to keep poking our head up and saying what we did. Like that diversity thing, they're really picking on that. Well, it's true. In those offices, there's a rainbow thing saying that all students are welcome. Well, I put up one of the world-renowned teacher with a whole bunch of different colored children, but we can't have that either. It's a public school. It's either all or nothing. You'd have to have all people. So it's not like I'm against the rainbow, but if you want to have one, you got to have them all. So it's piping up, and of course that's going to have, going to be lashed out at, but people have to just stand up and say, and look deeper.
Okay, so this is where I'm going with this. Are you trying now to encourage, at least in your area, because this is where you have the most influence, obviously, are you trying to encourage people to speak up, start speaking up, and start saying, look, man, can we get back to some sort of normalcy here? Because all of this is nonsense, and it's only creating division where they say that it's creating inclusion. It's certainly not doing that.
Definitely division. Yeah, I try and encourage people and yeah, write letters or write to your trustees.
How many people, Paul, do you get coming to you and saying, man, I really appreciate the things you're saying, but, I just can't say them myself because, it's really controversial and I might lose my job? Actually,
I've had more people with this instance actually stick their neck out.
Really?
It's amazing. Yeah, I think this I hope makes some big change. I definitely just the conditions on the reserves and what's gone on. You look at the Community Wellbeing Index, the CWB. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. So it has an indicator over the last 40 years, and nothing has gotten better. I'm accused of, just this one little guy, he set us back 10 years. And
that's what they're saying, yeah.
Yeah, we should go back 10 years because we're in the same spot as 10 years ago. The indicators are that the Indigenous are like in high school education is like 19 points under the non-Indigenous, steady through 40 years. The TRC has been around for 10 years, well, 9 years, but it started in 2006, I believe. And where's the change? Like I'm looking macro, not, the TRC has all these good things and then they just, they help the people right then and there, but it's not fixing that oppression is maintained below the non-Indigenous. And
Right. So
it's
what
not-
would you say needs to be done? I mean, aside from removing this ridiculous policy, what should we do to help?
wow.
Is
Like
there
who?
anything? Well, I mean,
Each
everybody.
individual, each
Yeah.
individual has to stand up, just as I did. And you know what? It's really unfair that this isn't how democracy is supposed to work. Because who's going to stand up if they're going to get whack-a-mole as soon as they stand? You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
It's just,
That's their game, though, man. I mean, that's how they're playing right now. That's what they do. They lie, they smear, they deflect, and then they go running away. That's exactly what they do.
But this is a start. If there's been 47% change in trustees, there's more people out there like me. And now that I've done it, and others are starting to do it, I think the minister is going to have his hands full. I think.
I used to go to school with the minister, and I don't have a lot of faith in the minister. I don't have a lot of faith in this government of Manitoba because they're all woke. And this is one of the things I believe personally, and this is only my thought of it, but I believe that this anonymous diversity parents group that is filing the complaint against the trustees in Steinbach are government workers. And I believe they've already got a deal in place with the Manitoba government to try and get rid of these trustees down there so they can more easily input these DEI policies into that school division down there. And it wouldn't surprise me at all, Paul, if they try doing the same thing to you. So, man, keep your head on a swivel. Yep. But at the same time, please continue to speak out about this stuff because your words are very important, my friend. Thank you.
Definitely.
Is there anything we missed? Is there anything you want to get into? Or
well, that news release, the first one there, I don't know. Like our chair was out of the country, and I know his name is on there, but it's electronic. I think there was some leeway given there. I haven't heard the whole story, but I don't think those are 100% his words, and that would be up to him to reverse that.
You mean Gabe Mercier?
Yes.
Well, he says here, Mr. Coffey was speaking as an individual, and his opinions and comments were his own and possibly those of other constituents in his ward. That's what board chair Gabe Mercier said in a statement. Interesting that he wasn't there to say these words.
Well,
is he one of the guys on our side?
He's a good guy. He's a very good chair. Really does a good job. And he just happened to be out of country, and you know how things are when you can't. You can give your CEO some leeway. You know what I mean? So I don't know if everything is all that kosher in regards to. I know the next news release is definitely not a very good one.
I find this to be very interesting. But what do you mean the next news release not a very good one?
There was another news release by the CEO on the webpage. So I don't.
Okay.
And that wasn't very charming either.
And
those things just cause division when in actuality it should have said we followed our governance. This would be my opinion. The school division it doesn't matter what a person's saying. You could come in there, like I said, you could be talking about men in skirts and little boys that think they're girls going in the bathrooms, and we'll sit and listen. Just like the things I said, you would sit and listen. So yeah, our board is good that way.
Right. Are you seeing little boys in skirts?
No. I'm just using that as an example.
No, I'm just wondering, like, if you've seen an increase in any of that kind of behavior in your area. Nothing like that, right? I mean,
but I'm just saying that if what I'm saying is way whacked out, then
it's not. It's normal.
Well, no.
I mean, this is the thing. I mean, like, they call us extremists for talking about parental rights, for talking about normal, basic human biology. And we're the extremists somehow. That's absolutely amazing to me. Also, this statement says Mr. Coffey was not speaking on behalf of the board, Mountain View School Division stands by our continued work with Indigenous partners and our tireless work around reconciliation. So who would have said that if not for Mr. Mercier then?
Well, the CEO would write those up
and put them in somebody else's words?
Well, it gets passed by the CEO. Like I'm not too sure if I don't know. I think the chair is a really good person. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there should be more explanation for that.
There's something fishy going on, my friend.
But those should have been basic governance, because the way they are worded, it makes it sound like I'm racist and that the division doesn't believe this or that, when they should have said simple governance, that Trustee Coffey said this, that, and the other. It was an informational. All the board members are required to sit and listen, and they can't interject unless I'm saying something totally racist or I cause an uproar in the gallery, or I'm obnoxious or something. Then one of the board, and I believe this is how it works, is one of the board can call a point of order, and the chair can kind of decide or ask for more information, and then we can continue or not.
So when you were giving this speech, which was like a half an hour long, right?
Yeah, it was around 30 minutes.
What was the reaction? Like, were you looking at the people as you were speaking? Did you see a lot of gaping mouths? Did you see a lot of consternation? Did you see a lot of shock?
No, they were just sitting and listening.
And there was oh my God.
No. And kudos to the board, because I'm just presenting information. So that
interesting.
When a motion comes later, then we'll have that information in our head, and hopefully if our policy comes up and they mention white privilege, the board can say nay to it, or decolonization.
Let me get something completely straight here in my mind. You were giving this presentation to the board, correct?
Yes.
Who else was there besides the board members?
The CEO, the secretary treasurer, and the second in command there.
So there was no media?
No, but it's live. And that's the other, and I hate to speak, I believe that we need to be more in the public eye, little less in camera stuff, little less in committee of the whole, and be a little more open so that the public, and I say kudos to Mountain View School Division, putting this out in the public so that public knows, well, what my constituents are thinking. This is what they're saying to me, and this is what I understand them to be. And so let's get it out there so that when I say this stuff, now a delegation can come and they can say the opposite, or they could say whatever, and then we'll be learned.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But normally speaking, a school trustee board meeting in Mountain View School Division in Manitoba is not going to garner the interest of all of the left-wing corporate media in the province, and yet for some reason this one did. So, and there's all of those people who were there, somebody leaked this to them, is what I'm telling you right now. This was not just picked up by some random member of the media, because I happen to know from years of experience in that particular industry that they're all a bunch of lazy Fs, and they're not going to be looking for something that happened. Well, did you see this? Yeah. Did you see this Paul Coffey? And he's a racist. We got to write about this. And they all came down on you, man. Like Global, CTV, the Brandon Sun especially. Yeah. CBC did, right? So somebody leaked it. I wonder who.
I didn't read any of the articles.
Good for you.
They sent me emails. Oh, contact me. Get a hold of me. I know they just ripped me apart even more.
Well, you know what was funny is the email that I got. Remember last week I was on saying, oh, we gotta get Paul on the show to talk about this, because I read your story from the left-wing corporate media.
Oh, okay.
And I thought, already I like this guy, right? So I made a call out to get you on the show, and I guess somebody did contact you because I got an email. From the next day, I think I got an email from you. Paul, thank you for coming on tonight. Really appreciate you taking the time. I want you to have a good time down there in Florida. Enjoy the next few weeks, and
For sure.
hopefully things have calmed down when you get back and you can get back to speaking the truth, man. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. There is Paul Coffey, school trustee with the Mountain View School Division in Manitoba, who has spoken out against DEI and these racist, anti-racist, which there is no such thing. It's racism. Let's be honest. It's racism. He's calling out the policies. However, he says up there, at least from his perspective, things have not been too badly tainted yet, unlike in the larger areas. And Christine, Jen, Raylan, if you're watching the show right now, please, when he gets back, get a hold of Paul and talk to him. I think what needs to happen is we need parents, trustees from every division in the province, in the country for that matter, the ones who still have their heads screwed on straight, the ones who are able to think sensibly. We need you trustees to get together to try and get to the bottom of these issues so that we can get rid of them, fix things, and get back to normal, right? So it's a matter of cooperation and sharing information, and I believe that you guys 100% can do that. And Paul seems like a real grounded, normal, smart kind of guy, doesn't he? Doesn't he? All right, let's get on with the show, you guys. Oh, and by the way, on the show tonight, where is on the extension tonight after 9 o'clock Central on ShadoeDavis.com? You may have noticed in the news that pro-Palestine encampments have been showing up all across North America at universities. So we've got some video to show for you from some of those universities and what these pro-Palestinian protesters are doing to Jewish students there at some of these universities. Not all, but some. Who's funding these things, and how are these rallies? And this doesn't just go for Palestinian rallies. This goes for any kind of left-wing extremist, BLM, whatever it was, whatever it is, whatever it's going to be. How do they get so many people together for these things? Because we struggle, right? I mean, anti-carbon tax protest. We got 12, 15, 25, 30 people out there on a weekend. We know there's more people against the carbon tax across this country than that. 70%, as a matter of fact, yet they don't come out to the rallies. Why not? We sit here, we scratch our heads, we wonder why. Don't they care about their country? Don't they care about their families? Don't they care about themselves? Do they want our way of life to just go away? Of course they don't. But they do have to live their lives. So how then are these Marxist leftist rallies getting so much support? Well, obviously we know they're funded extraordinarily by billionaires across the planet, but still that doesn't explain the organizational aspect to it. And yes, a lot of these people are affiliated with unions, and unions are very structured, very organized, but that doesn't answer it all. Not really. There's more to it. And so I will explain to you exactly how they go about this on the extension on ShadoeDavis.com after 9 o'clock Central tonight. From TNC.news, after weeks of speculation, because the budget came out a few weeks ago and we didn't know who was going to support it and who wasn't. Well, we know the Conservatives are against it. We know the Bloc is going to vote against it. And the Greens, all two of them, they're going to vote against it. But what was the NDP going to do? My prediction was that Jagmeet Singh was going to bend and say, okay, we support the budget. After weeks of speculation, Jagmeet Singh announced today that the NDP would support this year's budget despite raising outstanding concerns. So he sits there rattling a saber for weeks. Oh, there's not enough this, there's not enough that. Justin Trudeau is a big oil and gas baron, and he doesn't believe in the little guy and funding for poor people. And by the way, we're going to vote for your budget, Justin, because we love you so much. He needs to sit down and shut up. Anything that Jagmeet Singh says about anything, it doesn't matter what the topic is, I can't even say from this day forward, from 2 years ago forward, doesn't matter, because all he is a lapdog of Justin Trudeau, that Wacko. By the way, I understand that Trudeau picture wacko t-shirts are now available. I wish I'd have thought of that. Why don't I ever think of these awesome things? Is there still time? I'll get some made and put them on the website. Chrystia Freeland unveiled the Liberals' 2024 budget on April 16th. So over 2 weeks ago, the budget proposes $111.2 billion in new spending over the next 5 years, a $40 billion deficit, and no plans to balance the budget because the budget will balance itself. Oh, I'm so sick of that. Singh held his tongue until today, when the bill is up for its first vote, to say that his party would support it when speaking with reporters on Parliament Hill. A lack of NDP support could trigger a vote of non-confidence. It will trigger a vote of non-confidence. Never mind could, will. Budgets are confidence votes. So a lack of NDP support would trigger a vote of non-confidence for the minority Liberal government. So Singh said this: New Democrats fought for some concrete wins in this budget. They're going to make life better for people. That's his excuse for voting for the budget. Now, having said that, what Jagmeet Singh says and what that NDP caucus does could be two completely different things. I brought it up the other night. Let's just say that half of the 24 or 25 NDP MPs in that caucus say, you know what? I don't care what Jagmeet Singh says. I'm not voting for this hunk of crap. Well, that would take 12 votes away. That would be a very razor-thin margin for the budget to pass. Or maybe it wouldn't. The speaker would probably have to get involved at that point. Anyway, that, my friends, is what is happening. This budget, as horrendous as it is going to pass the House of Commons when it comes to final reading. Ooh, what happened to all my videos here? I had some good videos. Let's see.
You guys have closed the entrance.
Okay, so this is what we were talking about, the Palestinian protests and encampments that are going on at universities all across Canada and the United States. Who is funding them? How are they organized? We're going to get into this. I guess we're going to get into this now. We do have a lot of extra stuff. Oh, it's 8:53 already. My goodness. 7 more minutes until we head to the extension at shadoedavis.com. If you're not an all-access member there yet, go ahead and become one now. Get ready for the extension. So this is a Jewish student, I believe at UCLA, trying to get past a row of pro-Palestinian supporters on campus. Let's watch and see what happens.
We are UCLA students. I have my ID right here. I'm being blocked off, not by the security guard, but by you two. You three. Oh, look, they're making their burger while I'm going this way. Excuse me. This is what they do. Everybody, look at this. Look at this. I'm a UCLA student. I deserve to go here. We pay tuition. This is our school. And they're not letting me walk in. My class is over there. I want to use that entrance. Why can't they go? Will you let me go in? This can be over in a second. Just let me and my friends go in.
Now, of course, he could push right past them. What are they going to do? I mean, a couple of girls and one skivvly-looking guy. They're not going to chase that. Maybe. I mean, they might, but I doubt it, because he'd probably kick their asses. But they're probably not going to do anything. What he's doing here, this guy, is he's making a point. Because every time he tries to move to get past them, they move to intercept. So, I'm sure you've noticed that in the video. So let's go back to the very beginning of this, and let's make it bigger so it fills the entire screen everybody can see. All right. Here we go.
You guys have closed the entrance. We are UCLA students. I have my ID right here. I'm being blocked off, not by the security guard, but by you two. You three. Oh, look, they're making their burger while I'm going this way. Excuse me. This is what they do.
And of course, the masks. The masks. The masks.
Everybody, look at this. Look at this. I'm a UCLA student. I deserve to go here. We pay tuition. This is our school. And they're not letting me walk in. My class is over there. I want to use that entrance. Why can't they go? Will you let me go in? This can be over in a second. Just let me and my friends go in to class.
We're not engaging with that.
Then you can move. Will you move?
We're not engaging with that.
Okay, we're going. We're going. I'm going in. I have my hands up.
Oh, come a couple of bigger
You guys have
dudes.
closed the entrance.
All right. So how is this allowed? This kid's paid his tuition. He wants to go to class. How is this allowed to happen on private university or public university grounds? Because it is. And not only is it happening at one university, like I was saying earlier, it's happening at many different universities across the United States. And now it's happening in Canada. Blake Haben on X says new confirmed list of college campuses that have constructed encampments across the United States. How did all these encampments sprout up around the same time, and where are the supplies coming from? Who's funding? Who's paying for them? Harvard University in the United States. We're going to get to the Canadian ones in just a second. Arizona State University, NYU, City College of New York, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. There's a shocker. I think that's where they invented COVID. Isn't that what Dr. David Martin says? Brown University, Middlebury College, Bryn Mawr College, MIT, University of North Carolina, Charlotte, Cal Poly, Humboldt, University of New Mexico, University of California, Berkeley, the New School, University of California, LA, Northeastern University, Northwestern University, Columbia, University of Connecticut, Ohio State University, Cornell, University of Pennsylvania, Emerson College, University of Pittsburgh, Emory University, Pitzer College, Fashion Institute of Technology, Princeton, Florida State, Purdue, University of Florida, Rice University, Fordham. You can bet these ones in Florida are going to come down very quickly. Fordham, University of Rochester, Georgetown University, Rutgers, George Washington, University of Southern California, Hamline, Stanford, Swarthmore, Haverford, University of Texas, University of Illinois, Tufts, Indiana University, Vanderbilt, Barnard, Indiana University, University of Vermont, University of Maryland, Virginia Tech, University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee, Washington University, University of Michigan, Yale, Aurora, University of Minnesota. Wow! All of a sudden, all of these encampments just popping up overnight, it seems, at all of those universities across the United States. And look what's going on. According to the CBC, who were very sympathetic to this, by the way, what's going on now across our country? First of all, it's happening at Western in London, Ontario. Protesters set up camp at Western, calling for school to look at where the money goes. That's funny. Pro-Palestinian encampment was set up around noon with approximately 100 people involved within several hours. Oh, that was fast. Organizers said they planned to stay until midnight on the lawn in front of the University Community Center, a main building on campus. The protests are a direct response to the death toll they say is happening in Gaza. But where else in Canada are these things happening? Here they are. UBC, McGill, Western, and the University of Ottawa so far. This story came out today. Expect more and more of these things to pop up overnight all across Canada at public and private universities all across our country. How are they getting these people? Well, first of all, let's look at who is funding them, according to the New York Post. And this is something we talked about on the show in the past. Several billionaires and multimillionaires who don't live in the United States are funding this. Notably, there's a guy in China, I forget his name now, but we did a huge expose on him about 3 or 4 months ago, funneling millions and millions of dollars into these Palestinian protests. Now, what we see, George Soros and other elites are funding the campus agitators, stoking anti-Israel, anti-Semitic protests. And we're going to get into this and more on the extension in just a couple of minutes on ShadoeDavis.com. For you all Access members, I'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes. And for those of you who are not going to be joining us, sadly, I will catch you tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Central for another Shadoe at Night live stream. I love you all. I appreciate you all. I will see you soon for all access on ShadoeDavis.com for the extension. I will see you guys in 2 minutes' time.